and international students of Game Institute. Now a little bit about Game Institute. Game Institute started operations on 1st July in Thane district. Having started with basic animation courses, they gradually ventured into advanced animation courses like VFX, 2D, 3D animation, graphics, and filmmaking, which eventually led them to the gaming industry. We are grateful to have you here, sir. Sure, sir.
So, I was talking about we have tried to cover the maximum information what game art is basically, and this is not going to be in any ordinary session like you will be learning. So it is a vast topic. It is very difficult to cover in 2 hours, but we are trying our best to how much we can cover. Okay, so I will now invite Mr. Shreyash. He'll be conducting the show from here on. Shreyash, please take it.
Okay, hello everyone. Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir, your voice is clear.
Okay, so I just thank you for this session. I'm glad to be this moment. So I just want to share you some essential things for the especially for the game art design. So let me introduce myself. As you already know, my name is Shreyas Menon, and I'm working in this field for 5 years, and I've been doing the concept art work and also the character design, especially for gaming, but as well as I have interest in comics and also like background designs and everything. So it's all still I'm learning this stage, even though I have a bit of experience, but it's an endless process that we need to keep on learning new things and getting inspired from the games, from the comics, from all the professionals that they do. So it's a very big journey for an artist to grow himself and make his art as much as unique as it can be. So let's begin with the essential part of this game art. As you can see, all these elements, the story, identifying the genre, the art style, the game mechanics, the understanding of the game mechanics, and then after that we create the characters and background art using the fundamentals of the design. So all these elements work together to make a proper game structure. So it's all about the art style that we are focusing on, but the technical side is all about the coding part, which basically if the team is huge, then we have to coordinate according to the technical limitations, like what they can achieve and what we can give, what an artist can give for the developers to make the game as much as successful. Yeah, so as you can see, the story is everything about the game. If you're thinking about the RPG games, I know that these days youth have been through with a lot of RPG games as well as the multiplayer games. So the main thing is all about the game is story. If the story is proper, if there is the character that exists in the world, and the player that understand the achievements of the characters, that what is the quest, or what kind of ways that he can be in that world. So depending upon the story and the genre, like action games or the adventure games. So I have two examples of the adventure and the action games, which you can see this right here. So this whole you might be familiar with this game. This is a Valiant Heart, which is a history belongs to the World War type game, and it's quite having a lot of puzzle things, and also a comic style of art that you can see in this type of game. So you can just play this part. a little bit to show you some understanding that how this is like a piece of puzzle kind of game. It's focused on the 2D platform games, but it's all about this game's all about works as a kind of story that builds upon. So with that reference, it shows its uniqueness, that how the game is working. So it's a lot of collectibles that is something that builds a piece of puzzle in this game. So the same thing, you can see the well-known the well-known game, the Cuphead gameplay. You might have been familiar with this. So this is also a type of very 1930s casual games, like 1930s, like Mickey Mouse type games, but it has a certain style, and also the difficulty is very hard in this game. It's quite hard. So basically, you need to understand the game mechanics after identifying the story and the medium, the art style. So depending upon the art style that we're focusing on, and the genre, which is the action games or adventure type of games, so all mixed together, if the mechanics is proper, like if a gameplay is proper, which is developed by which the developers do its job to make it as much as playable. It's all about the satisfaction that has when we play any games, which makes us feel happy about it. So you can I can show you some of these explosions and everything. You know, it feels much satisfied. Like we just run through this thing, and we need to survive in this whole lot of messed up situation. So this is all about the game mechanics, how it works, and how they try to fix the spot where the explosions has to be there, where you can able to tackle that problems. So first thing first, it's all about the fixing the plot, where he can survive, where the player can survive, where is it much difficult part that player needs to keep on trying in that game. So once the mechanics is understood, that how the platformer game is working, so we can go with the next part, which is the fundamental part. So the game mechanics will be very rough. It has no idea about the art style or anything about the shape designs and everything. It will be very simple, a prototype which developers might have. So for an artist gets that in their piece of foot plate, like they have the story and all the genre and the mechanics is available. Mechanics are available, and then they decide how they can create with this, whether they want to implement a lot of ideas in this, whether they want to give some sort of feedback that how will it help the viewer or the player, would be more fun fact about this, like how they can uh, satisfy with the game. So the starting is all about the ideas that we need to put up on, like more ideas we can put it, and it's supposed to be agreed from all other perspective, that what they think about their ideas, how we can build up, and based on that we design the fundamentals of the design, fundamentals of the game art. So my areas are focusing on only on the fundamental part, this part, sorry. So this part of the design is the most important area which I'm trying to show you, which is the rules and regulations that we use in the gaming, or whether it's a gaming or whether it's an animation or comics, whatever art stuff that we do. It's all about the fundamentals always will be the same, and we relate with that with the many aspects that we want to express for the viewer. So this is the most important part that every artist faces, and me as well faces all the time, that how we can nourish it, how we can make it a caliber thing, that how we can make it as much as good as we can. So that's the main focus at this point for the game art. So all these things are assumed that we have it, and we can go further with the process of the design concepts. So is it clear with this? Is it any doubt in this whole thought process? Is there any doubt? Does anyone have anything to say? Okay, so, shall I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, then. So we go with the fundamentals part. So the fundamentals is the most core thing that we need to work on this game, or the animation, or whatever you medium you think about. So
Excuse me, sir. Uh, there's a question. Can you explain what game mechanics is?
okay, the game mechanics is all about the process. I'll show you a video which you can understand the game mechanics much clearly, because if I show you, that will make a much more clear idea. So just hold on, let me just get the video link, and I'll just place it over that.
Sure.
So it's something like a breakdown, the game mechanics. Like the developer decides that how to design a particular game. So suppose you see this stuff. This is Ori and the Blind Forest. So you can see this all the design that you might have understand how it is much more complicated. But when you think about the mechanics, it's all about the idea that how the gameplay has to be much more interesting, how it should be valuable, that we can think in the gamer's perspective, that how the mechanics has to be very very interesting. That's all about. Like, it depends upon the ideas, it depends upon the trial and error, it depends uh, on the rework on this thing. So it can be failed oftentimes at the first place, and we do thrice, and as many as times that we do this thing, it works better uh, ever before. So you can see this concept is all about the sand. This character is reaching inside the sand and trying to uh, hit the place wherever it's possible, so that he can move from one place to another in a much proper understanding, like how we can animate this stuff. How so as you can see, this red area which is designed, this simple identification, that's the danger part. So it creates the identification, that how is it clear, how is it properly shown for anyone who can really understand this whole picture at the first glance. So it's all about the technical aspects, like how they achieve this thing based on the physics and the rules, what they try to make this game as interesting as possible. So it's all about the sand stuff, and he reaches from one place to another easily as possible, and sand gives the physical thing that they can move from one place to another depending on the colliders. So I hope this is clear with the concept, the mechanics which I'm talking about.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Now it is clear.
Yeah, see, I would like to extend the information about the game mechanics as well. Game mechanics actually depends upon the how a game is played, how a game is, see, there are lots of things which are have to be, achieved into a game. Like when you are playing a game, you have the achievements, you have the some certain task which you have to perform. So if you fail to perform that task, then what game will do, like it will make you play it repeated again and again. So game mechanics is basically a technical thing where you achieve the thing and you proceed into the game. So this is what basically a game mechanics is.
Okay, so are we clear with this part, which is all about the planning, the where, how, and when should be they can fix the obstacles, or anything which the player has a lot of obstacles in front of its. So that's everything all about. So fixing the placements, the fixing the all the objects, and the fun part where the game is going very well, and at the end it satisfies the player that uh, what he feels about the game, as much as interesting as possible. So after we understand the gameplay, that what it should be, the understanding the mechanics, the physics and everything, we focus on the artist focus on the fundamentals of the design, which is a very core thing, that he can pull these according to these mechanics, according to the gameplay. He can design the game, entire the background, like a decorating. We are trying to decorate things to make it much more visually acceptable. It makes feel the player to be the part of that game. It's just like that. So so we have two things, like we have characters and the background art that we need to make. So I have to go through the each and every aspects, but the character design is very huge like process. There is a lot of iteration that we need to make. So what I do is, first let me focus on the fundamental part, that what is there in the character, as well as the environment, the background art. So these elements, the composition elements, the all these elements, they group together to work the character, the background, as much as clear as possible. So as you can see, the rhythm, the shape designs, the grouping of the objects, the perspective, the value contrast, the color contrast, and the light and shadow. So all these elements, they come together to make a composition as much as clear as possible. So when you talk about the composition is something like basically a flow. So every art has a composition, every music has a composition, every dance having a composition, which means that all these elements work together in a flow, just like a team, and it creates a proper delivery of understanding what we are trying to show to the viewer. It is very clear about the all these elements is expressed to show the viewer. So let's get started with the rhythm part. Okay, so you can see this, right? This image, I just placed it small, understanding that what rhythm is, right? So let me just show you certain examples so that you can clearly have a clear picture, the clear idea that what is all about the rhythm. Just hold on for a moment. Yep. Okay, I got it. So this is the reference image of the concept art image of the Paul Felix from the Disney. So you can see this all this concept design. So basically the rhythm, it works on every uh, in every ways, like in the game art as well as the animation, it's all about the flow. It is something that we need to create a focus for the viewer to view at a certain point, and rest of other elements just giving a way to get that flow. So every music has a rhythm, every dance has a rhythm. So it's just like every art has a particular rhythm. So I just drew some lines that you can get the idea, like what are the rhythms are. The rhythms is flow of the focal point. So like we can see this this area. This area is creating a lot of focal point, because the llama is moving from one direction towards its own destination. But we can see that all these elements which have been added, it's going to give a clear understanding that how the everything is flowing. The clouds, the all the mountain elements, everything flowing towards the focal point, towards this focal point, which creates a rhythm. So that's what you can see in this every breakdowns of this part. So it's very helpful that you can break down with these lines, drawing lines. It's not about tracing, but it's all about how we can feel the flow of this design to emphasize the composition. So rhythm is a very great achievement, that it creates a very good idea that how it needs to flow, how it needs to give a focal point. So everything is looking on a one direction. So you can see this is a Tarzan, the concept art of the Tarzan. So all the bunch of chimpanzees are looking at one point to create a tension at this area. In this area, it is creating a proper tension with the help of rhythm. So all these the mountains, rivers, the waters, everything that flowing at one direction has a rhythm. Just like that, it works in this whole art piece, which creates a flow, a nice flow, which makes a rhythm as successful as possible for the composition. So so I can show you some examples about the game, that how they used a rhythm for especially for the background art. I just show you for that. So okay, so you can see this whole part of this background. So this is a boss fight. So this is this guy, the player is shooting the lasers. So you just can ignore that part. But that is also going like a rhythm. That's going like a flow, a rhythm, which is like a shooting. So it is about the understanding the game mechanics, that how the shooting should work in the on the base of the rhythm. So there might be some sort of physics that they use in this calculate this, that how it's supposed to be working. So that is all about. So you can see this all the elements which I've added, the foreground element, the this midground element, where the playing area. So this whole area is a playable area. So I'll show you the part of this, which you can see here. It's over here, so you can see this. So all these areas are playable area, and whatever elements that we are showing, like a garden place, so it is shown on the basis of flow, creating a nice flow to make it much more visually interesting. So this background which is creating the focus like this, so that the carrot guy is coming out, just the carrot guy which is coming out. So it creates a good nice flow to create a focal point where the rhythm that flows in that characters. So you can see that a lot of seekers happen, a lot of seekers and S curves, like a flow happens. And sometimes in contrast, the rhythms break the rhythms, like straights. You can see few straight lines as well to break the rhythm. So it is like a music, like where it has a high notes and then down notes and then suddenly a pause. It's just like that. That works for the composition, especially for the rhythm. So that's what it's all about. So I think we are clear with this element. So let's get back to the another one, which is the shape design. So the shape design is quite a huge topic. So it's all about the designing the elements, but it's really important that how much you can simplify the elements based on the shape design. The shape design is basically an abstraction. Just make the shapes as much as simple as you can. So um so let me show you that example. So the one which is the level breakdown which I've done in this shape designs. Okay, I just make this opacity very little less. So you can see the rhythm which I've already break down in this composition of this the game design, which is giving a nice flow. So the shape design is something like simplification, basically. So as you can see, this all bunch of bushes, the tree leaves, and everything is grouped one together. So it has a proper shape design. Just hold on, guys. So so basically, you can see this abstraction of the shapes, where you see this shape as much as simplified to make the composition much more better. So all these shapes are not evenly distributed. So everything has competing each other with big, medium, and small shapes. So you can see this looks like very big in length, the big shape, and this looks like medium shape, and this look like small. So there is a nice flow or rhythm. So depending upon the rhythm, on the base of the flow of the rhythm that flows like this, so they creates a shapes, proper simplified shapes, and then we can make a detailing in that inside that shape. It's all about that. And it's all about the negative shapes as well. You can see the negative shapes here as well. So this is like small shapes, this is a large shape, and I'm sorry, the length. So when I talk about the height, if I just talk about the height, this looks small. Rest of other looks bigger. So in general, when you see the overall shape, this looks smaller, this looks medium, and this looks large shapes. So it works everywhere. So in between, there is evenly, it's not evenly distributed. It's showing the very good gap between the shapes. The same thing, there is the foreground elements, which is showing this foreground part, which is like a parallax moment. So when you see this game and in this the parallax part, so you can see this the foreground elements moves faster. This foreground elements basically, which you can see this the big, medium, and small shapes, which is like a grouping, and also the understanding of the shape language, where there is a lot of noise. Okay. So basically, what I'm trying to express this, there is a lot of noise in this part, and suddenly the noise is there is a rest area of the shape designs in terms of abstraction. The shapes are basically organized in such a way that when there is a high note, there's a lot of details, and slowly the details gets lesser and lesser as it moves away. So it needs to create a tension points, because the game, which you can see the gameplay where this lot of elements is there. So that's why it creates much more tension point. That's why they want to make focus for the viewer at one section with a lot of details around the backgrounds. That is all about. So so that is all about the shape designs, the shapes, how we can make it abstraction shapes, where we can make it as much as simplified as possible. And yeah, so it's also there in the character design as well. Let me just show you a reference for the character design. I just did some breakdowns for the characters, so for especially for the Valiant Heart game. So as you can see, the big shape is the entire body of that character, this part, and this creates the legs is creating a small shapes. So they have broken the rule, the actual proportions of the human being. So they made a very small shapes for the legs, and quite big shapes, especially for the lower leg. They made a very small thing, and the big for the upper part, and then the head as normal as possible. So depending upon the character design, so you can see this when I break the shape language of this character. His name is Emil, and this is the Freddy. So you can compare this, that this character looks much more muscular design, which has a very triangular kind of muscularity, which shows its biceps and all the forearms, which is buffed up. So in this case, he looks very rectangle kind of shape, which is a kind of abstraction. Abstraction means to simplify the things as much as one shape as possible. So I've just made a combination of triangles and circles and boxes. So triangles, you can go with like triangle like this, because we know that it's a box. So we can add this part, box here, and circle. Like I can see the circle at somewhere this part. So you can show that circle, semicircle for these shapes. So this makes as much as abstraction for the shapes. So that is simplification of this shapes. So you can see the belts, all the belts and everything. So you can see this looks big, medium, and small shapes. The small for the buckle, and big for this whole thing. So it's all about the design concepts, that how we can make. And there is another way to understand the shapes, is the sharp versus smooth shapes. So it just make this opacity much lesser, so I can show the what I've written here. So the main character is this character. The main character is this. So whatever the enemies are, not enemies, we can say they are against the character which is playing. So their shape language, you can see a lot of these sharp edges, this sharp thing, which makes a sense that it is not inviting. It has a lot of the shapes itself shows some sort of dangerous elements. This thing, it shows some sort of dangerous elements that makes the shapes, abstraction of the shapes, quite easily identified, that who is good, who is bad. It's something like good versus bad. So this looks like very small, very soft shapes. He has a very soft curves, which creates a rhythm. It is also shows a rhythm, but at the same time, he has, in contrast with the hard edges. That is all about. Okay, so I hope this is as much as clear for the abstraction point of view. Okay, so we jump off the next one, which is the presentation for sorry, where is the essential of the composition. So now the grouping of the objects. So as you can understand that when we add a lot of elements, it basically makes a lot complex. The shapes of the designs makes much more complex. It makes much more difficult to identify how we can group the objects, and it's very hard, this process, and it takes a lot of understanding that how we can uh, able to give a proper grouping of the objects. So I can show you that how is it done. So this creates this one group. So our main intention is, it's not, the grouping of the objects shouldn't be evenly distributed. It should be distributed in such a way that each other it makes uneven as possible. So this group is different. This group of the shapes are different, which creates an abstraction and rhythm as well. The same thing, the grouping of this makes one group, this makes another group, this makes another group. So you can see the spacing between the groups are not evenly distributed. That is it all about the grouping of the objects. So it works everywhere where you can break down the things. It creates a very good understanding of the grouping, how we can group the objects. So now the perspective, when you talk about the perspective part, it is very hard to identify at the first place, because it mostly works in a concept art work. Like when we are doing when we are designing the work in 3D form, like different angles, at that time the use of perspective makes sense. But at this point, which you can see in terms of perspective, so you can see this part, the bottom part of this place. So which means that what we see is below us, is some sort of perspective is there. But in 2D, they don't give that much importance for the perspective, especially for the 2D platformer game. So I give one more concept for the idea of the perspective. Just let me get that. So here you can see this image, the angle of the tiles, or not tiles. It's a basically it's a wooden objects, the wooden tiling kind of thing. So it is placed like an angle, so that it shows two sides, this side and this side, and it cannot change the angle because it's a 2D game. But it shows the idea of perspective, that the bottom plane, which is this is the bottom plane. Okay, my brush is lagging, sorry. So this is the bottom plane, and this looks, the eye level that we are looking at, it doesn't have the bottom plane, which means that the eye level is somewhere here, that we are looking at the object at somewhere this place. So it helps to identify where is the horizon, where is the eye level, where the diagonal lines. So at this moment, so perspective mostly works on the building blocks, interiors, etc. All other like trees, like jungle areas, the ground plane, the ground surface never used to be very straight as possible. So it has a lot of bumps, like this bumps happens in the jungle area. So the ground surface never be parallel. So you can see this perspective. So you can see the diagonal which is forming. So becomes less diagonal. So it makes a horizon line where the eye level is, that man is looking at it. So if he stands here, you can get the idea that where he is, he's there, he's standing at the viewer area on the basis of the height of the viewer. So from there, we can show the idea of the perspective, like a lot of these things, like it's called grid methods for using the idea of perspective. So if that is set clearly, then it's easy to place the objects, because we know where is the eye level. So it works mostly in the interior part and the exterior part, buildings, blocks, and everything. Other than that, it doesn't. So you can see the use of perspective, that shapes overlaps each other. So as you can see, this part, this section, which is the back side, and this entire train It's a front side. So as the character move from one angle to another, depending upon the depth, which creates a perspective, this moves. This section moves because it's away from us, to show the perspective, the effect of perspective. So I can show you in the video itself, so you'll get the clear identification that what I'm trying to say. So what's this part? So it's separated, so it moves according to the idea of perspective, that whichever is away from us, the depth, as a depth creates away from us, it moves slower, just like basically it calls the parallax movement, where it is placed in a 3D form. Either it's placed in a 3D form, or it's placed in a calculation of the parallax movement. So you can see this part, it moves the outer side of this train. So you can see that, right? Okay. So that is all about the perspective. So, and after that, we just show the essential part is the value contrast. So when I talk about the value contrast, let me just show you the example for it's the same example. Okay. Just hold on. Okay, we got it. Yeah. So you can see this. So basically, when we think about the colors, before we think about the colors, the values are most important part, and it's basic fundamental thing that when we study any colors, the theory of the colors, it is very essential that what's the value is all about. So some objects has a darker value, so the light and shadow changes according to that darker value object. So this object is a lighter value, so its shadows shows darker than the value itself, which is shown, which is a white, a little bit white. So it depends upon the value, we can decide the color. So there is a good example, if I can show you. Like most of the fabrics, the most of the fabrics has darker value. So this part, it sorry, it shows the darker value. So if I just put it on the grayscale, you can clearly identify the what value is it. So this is the fair guy, so the value itself is shows a little bit gray, like a little bit whiter, because he has a very fair skin. And you can see the compare with the American, black American guy, who has a very dark skin. But we define the value for especially for the fabrics. So it depends upon what type of fabrics the character is wearing. So if it's an innerwear, so it has a lighter value. But when most of the pants, the fabrics has a much darker value. So that is very important to show its importance. So as you can see, this section, this guy is asking him to get the water for the dog. So so at this contrast, the composition of this whole image, it gives a clear contrast that this has a very fair value, because this section gives a lighter value for this character, and rest of everything shows a darker value. So that creates a good focal point for the viewer to see the character very clearly at this moment. So the value is very important before you decide for the color. So and I have just given a threshold effect in the Photoshop. So which you can see this, he needs the water. So you can see the sign of this symbol of this water, which is kind of abstraction. Symbols shows abstractions. So this shows much darker value, this part. And the guy who is standing here is also showing the darker value. And he is in that darker value range. So rest everything creates lighter value to give a contrast that for the viewer to focus on this area, and this area. So the value plays a very effective role in the values for identifying that what we want to create a composition for viewer to focus on one place. Same thing, you can see the foreground elements is much darker because it's foreground. We don't want to focus in these areas. We don't want to focus on these areas. So that's why it creates a darker value, much darker value than the area, any other values which is in front of you. So that is what the playing out with value. And all these values are getting lighter because of the atmospheric perspective, which means that snow is falling much more. So that's why you cannot see what is going far away from us. So that's why they shown a much lighter for all these elements. So the value plays a very vital role in this design. So that is all about. So you can see the value for this part. This is the playable area. So that's why this is much more value area. So just let's focus on the color. So I can show that as well. So basically it's called value contrast. That is all about which value we want to show much darker, which value we want to go lighter, depending upon the focal points. So now, as you can see, the color contrast, how you identify the essential part in terms of color. So as you can see this here, this area, this is the playable area. Just let me just make this opacity much clearer. So this area is much very the mechanics, like the game mechanics, which is a collider, that like something hit here, it creates an obstacle for the player. So that area is having the color contrast. The color of this playable area is much more vibrant than the all other aspects that you can see here. The all other area looks less color. I'm sorry, the less saturated color. So if I just color pick it, just show you this hue. So this is much brighter. So if I just pick any other color which is away from that playable area, it's get lighter. The Photoshop is cracking. So let me just pick. Just delete this as much as I can. Okay. So if I just pick this looks much darker value, and also the color, which is showing. So you can see that how much difference that it makes for creating especially the focal point. Okay. So I hope this understand. Yeah, just hold on. Okay, so this is all about the color contrast, that which colors we want to give much more saturated so that the center of focus creates for the viewer to identify the thing. And also we can able to understand that which is the danger color. Like if I just talk about the color contrast in this piece, this one, which is like a pink color, like dark pink color for the enemies. The enemies are like vibrant blue color, very vibrant blue. And for this thing, is like pink color. So it creates proper contrast with the whole environment. The whole environment are the jungle type greener. It creates much greener environment. But these two things gives a color contrast, which identifies the player that which is enemy and which is enemy, that clearly gives the identification with the help of value as well as the color. So right here, I can show you one more example. So you can see this color contrast in this environment. So so this guy has a very darker value, and the color contrast is also given very darker color, and this is having lighter value. And if you just see the entire place of this scene, it's very dusky, very brown color, but this part and this part creates a contrast. A small bit of contrast gives the focal point, gives the composition much more interesting. It gives its more a bit of essence to show it. It gives the attention for the viewer to look at that flag is much more important for that whole piece of concept. The same thing, it works on the game as well. So if he wants to go towards the ladder area, so ladder color has much contrast. Even the icons has much contrast. Even the color of this character has much contrast when you compare with all other the colors which is placed. So foreground elements and whichever elements are placed. So he wants to go to that ladder. So that's why he want to play these all these people according to a specific order, just like a puzzle game, so that he can move away from that place and he can jump off that ladder with the help of that with that color, which shows a clear contrast that it is much more vibrant. So color contrast plays a very huge role. And the first thing first, the value contrast gives the clear identification. So when I just give a grayscale value, you can clearly understand that how much contrast is making in terms of value. And then when you put the color, it creates much more clear differentiation with the design. And then we just go with the last thing, which is called light and shadow. So light and shadow gives the final thing, the final touch for the detailing that we can give. So it gives the idea that how much the shape is, how much three-dimensional the shape is. So when I say that, when I say, just hold on. So let me just give it lighter opacity for this piece. Not too much lighter. So just to give us three-dimensional. So this is a comic art style. So they use the inking as much as shadow as possible. The shadow area with the help of inking. So when there is a shadow, the creases forms with the help of lines, which shows a proper identification that the shape is different. So we know that when we make a light and shadow, understanding that where is light is coming from, it's basically it's coming from the top. So the shadow area, you can see the much lines which is shown, the shadow part much clearer. And same for this area. So you know this part is round shape. The form is kind of round shape. So they are distributed with one line to emphasize the shadow area and the light area much clear way, to give a sense of the understanding it's how the 3D the shape is, even though it looks like a 2D, but how it emphasizes the volume of the 3D-ness with the help of light and shadow, they can make it. So just the light is coming from the top, so you can see the cast shadows for this awnings of that train. So that gives some sort of cast shadows. So light and shadow helps a lot. It's a final render where we want to create a proper identification that how the forms are separated. It's the same thing. You can see the forms is round form. So just one line gives the idea to separate the light and shadow, like the forms how is round and cylindrical. It's a combination of half sphere and the cylindrical shape. So with one separation, it gives the idea like what shadows area are, what the light shapes are. So it is also some sort of abstraction, like how much you can simplify this whole piece in terms of shadow and light. So there's the cast shadow, which creates a direction of the light which is coming from this side, this area. So that is everything all about the light and shadow. So this composition, you can see this evenly not evenly distributed. It creates a very great abstraction of triangle shape like that to make it composition element as much as clear as possible. This looks like very big shape.
Please explain cast shadow.
Okay. So someone had just hold on.
Please explain cast shadow.
So okay, so I am supposed to explain the cast shadows. So the cast shadow is basically is like you can see two type of shadows. I'll give you idea like which are the cast and which are the another one. One more shadow which I'm going to introduce is the form shadow, which means that shape itself changing away from the light. That is called the form shadow, basically, which you can see, which means that light is coming from this direction. And if I want to show the shapes as spherical in a 3D way, so it starts with the little bit of the shadows, the starting point of the shadows, which shows a little bit of composition shapes, abstract shapes of these elements. And suddenly there is a drastic form shadow happening. And where the surface that is placed, where the surface that it relates to it, you can see the cast shadow of this here. This is the cast shadow. The angle of the light where it hits and it creates another shadow on another surface, that is basically a cast shadow for the light and shadow understanding. Same thing you can see here, the cast shadow for this here. So that is all about the cast shadow. You can see the cast shadow. So basically, when the cast shadow is closer to the surface, when the surface is closer to the object, the cast shadow is very clear. So as it goes away, just because light is hitting everywhere, it bounces everywhere, it gets fades away. So the cast shadow ultimately fades away as it reaches away from the object. So that is something that which is very helpful, fundamental, that we think that how shadow represents. So you can follow the Marco Bucci. He's a great artist, so you can show that. He explains very well about the shadows. So you can see this. So there is a whole video about how the shadows work, the cast shadows and the form shadows. I can put that link if in the where am I supposed to? Just, I just need
we
help.
we will be uploading this video to Game Institute channel. So anybody wants to refer this thing later on, they can access this thing, and the information with like Marco Gucci, and there are lots of information. We will also putting that on this video for your later study. Okay.
Okay, I'll send that link if anyone has still doubt with this piece, this fundamental piece. Okay. So that is all about, and there's one more thing I haven't discussed about the arrangement of the shapes, uh, the composition essential, the grouping of the objects. So as you know, the rhythm, where is it? I think this one. So as you know, the rhythm, it just follows. So these guys are running uh, like like in a certain pattern that you can see, like an arc like this. So that is also a grouping of the object, like how you can group it. The same thing, the pattern of this. So this, so I'll show you this. Just hold on, guys. So you can see the pattern of these guys who is supposed to wear the military uniforms. So they are placed in a certain arc that you can see that the characters needs to move from one direction. So you can see that C curve, which is like a rhythm that follows the grouping of these objects, and they are not evenly placed. There's some of it has this much distance, and some are wide distance, and then this is much closer in perspective. This guy looks bigger because it's foreground element, it's coming forward to you. So it has a curve basically. So that is also important. The grouping of the objects is very important in a fundamental perspective. So almost I covered up everything what is essential for the composition. So these elements work together to make the composition much more clearer, and it gives a clear understanding that what message that we want to give to the viewer, to the player, that based on its own experience, that he is in that story. So these things. So I show you some recent drawings which I've done for the, especially for the character design stuff. Just hold on. Okay, I have few images that I can share with you. So I was creating a barbarian character. I think it was made last year, I guess. Yeah, a barbarian character. So it's not that much simplified, but just you just close this off.
Try to create a character with the references. Like you are looking for Ramayana. Live demonstration.
Okay, I'll try to create a character with the help of reference in front of you, so that you can get a clear idea that what we want to make it for the character, especially for the character design. So let me just get. let me just first show these things which I've done last year. So first let me do that, and then I'll make some character design for you for this thing. So this is a barbarian character which I've drawn uh, just for get the idea like how the placements are, how the shape language of this character has. It's much more muscular. I was trying to make it much more muscular, but it looks much more masculine. But this is the feminine character, so I've focusing on the simple details, like what things, what accessories can have. So basically, I've taken reference from the historic point of view, like Vikings thing, that what they wear in as a kind of armor. Um, all the shoulder pads and everything to define its Viking kind of feel. So made quick sketches. So these sketches are rough as possible. So whenever you make a character design, you always make rough sketches for that. It can be as much as rough. If it can be simplified with abstract shapes at first place, and then you can make with the help of that abstract shapes, you can create these rough artworks. So basically, if you're not satisfied with this design, you can make much more artwork like these. And I've decided that I want to give show some daggers that she throws, like sketch like she's having a lot of daggers around, and she has a a very good aim to throw anyone. So I've just created some poses that how she can show her movement based on the character design. So as you can see, there's a lot of rough sketches just made. So I just understand the rhythms, the gestures, the understanding of the flow. You can see that much more like a shape, like it looks very triangle shapes, gives a really good sense of strength in terms of design. So I was giving that abstract shapes in that way, in that sense, make the character much more unique in this design with the help of simple shapes. So, and then I was facing difficulties with the design because the Viking designs are very hard to understand. It was very new for me, so I was trying to design that part. This this whole interlocking design, this whole thing, it gives much more difficulties to draw these. So somehow I'm trying to get the idea like how we can build these, how we can add the animals, the skeleton of the animals to give the characters more unique, like the character have achieved something in its own in our own experience of hunting and doing all the fighting stuff. So she achieved something. So I want to add all those elements for the character, and all the Viking designs for the especially for the characters. And somehow experimentation with her facial structures. I was doing the facial features, that how we can look in different angles based on the rough designs. And then so these all these rough designs gives a clear identification that where the character design is going. And then and suddenly I ended up with the this thing. Like first I tried with the grayscale mode to figure out what the value is all about, that how the value is structured based on the lighting from the top of it. It's not perfect, but somehow I was trying to experiment it, like what things I supposed to give a focal point, what things I'm not supposed to give. So you can see the bottom part is not given much more importance, but there the designs is there. But still I want to show the daggers, all that stuff, the the achievement part, which is like the skeleton of the animals, like that, and just randomly putting up the designs at the first place. But somehow I try to make it, but I don't say that this is my proper design, because it's an initial one. So every time we make an initial one, it fails. Somehow it fails. So we can make much more artworks from this, because you learn something, you watch a lot of tutorials, a lot of things, that you understand these things, and when you apply it, you somehow you figure out, you 50% you figure out that what you can make. And there is certain limitations that you might have, like I might have. And yes, I really accept that I have certain limitations. So we need to figure out that what are the limitations, so that we can make much more adjustments to this more designing of these characters, or any design. So I just go on first two values, and then I experimented with the colors, that what colors I supposed to give. And for this, I had a reference. I can show you that as well. The warrior reference. Yeah, this one. This was the color reference when I was coloring the stage. At the coloring stage, I was looking for the images, what looks much more metallic, what looks a little bit dangerous, and a little bit eye of focus. So always have reference. Even for the designs, I picked up a lot of reference in the Pinterest. If I could have it, I would have shown that, but eventually I don't get that part. But for the color, I already have this color palette thing, which makes a very clear understanding that how can I take that reference, and how they put that color identification to give its own importance. Somehow I managed to figure out for what things are much more visually important, what are not, depending upon the light and shadows, and also the values. So this is all about the color reference for the character, finally, which I've made. So so it's all about understanding the colors, and and the design, that how we can show to the viewer that the seriousness of the characters. So can I create any character design for you at this moment? Would you like to you want me to show that, anything like that, or
Yes,
just?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Then I'll show some character design just like the reference, because I can get a quick reference from this thing as well, or just to create the idea. Or any suggestions you have? Any demand that you like? Anything that you think that you want me to draw that particular character? Any ideas that you can give? Because I can make it anything, but I can work on anything. But if you give me a precise direction, I can do on the base of your perspective.
Sir, we have a few suggestions coming up. God
Yes.
of War, Iron Man like armor,
What
Bishop from League of Legends.
God of War?
Kratos in God of War.
Okay. And then
Iron Man like armor.
okay, God of War with Iron Man like an armor, like you mixing together one thing like that.
No, sir. They are two different suggestions.
Okay.
But we have another suggestion coming up. Mixed Marvel character.
Mixed Marvel character. Okay. Okay, let's mix up the Marvel character. That's what you can say.
Yes.
Okay, any superhero character would work, I guess. Okay, just let me just pick any sort of reference, like character for the Marvel. So just hold on. I take a reference, simple reference of the character pose that makes much more interesting. So
Yeah, sure, sir. There is a demand like God of War character, something like that.
yes. So I'm trying to pick the superhero thing.
Guys, we are reading your messages. People are demanding like mixed Marvel character or God of War or Zeus. Believe me, it is not that easy to create such characters in a short span of time. So what we can create is like we will try to create something unique, and let's see what are the features we can include what you demand, because creating a God of War character requires a lot of study. And see, it's very easy to copy the characters, but it is very easy to create something unique. So let's see what Shreyas sir can design for you right now within 10 to 15 minutes. So let's see.
Actually, I have I've already made one design for relate with the God of War, like Parshuram.
Yes.
I did that once. I can show you that as well. So just hold on. Let me get the right reference for this. Get the pose.
Hey guys, Shreyas will be joining in a few minutes. Until then, how is the workshop so far? For me, let me start. I've learned a lot about game aspects of like design aspects of the game art and like the abstracts. So, if any one of you have your takeaways, you can put them in the chat. You can just share them with your co-delegates.
Yeah. So, guys, I hope this session is quite knowledgeable for you right now.
Yes.
So, have you enjoyed it or काफी boring लग रहा सबको?
For me, it was very informative. And what do you think, delegates? Enjoyed it so well.
We are what we are doing, like we are trying to cover as much as information what we can, because see, if we talk about a rhythm, let's talk about the essential parts of creating a game art. So if you might have heard my voices in background, because I have to keep Shreya sir in loop so that he should not deep dive into those things, because if he talk about rhythm only, he will believe me, he can take your 3 hours only for a single topic.
Yeah, Gopal sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. Hi, this is Mehul Acharya, Mehul sir from Game Institute. See, guys, what we have seen today in this just was, the gaming is a very huge subject. And if we try to cover it, life is short, actually. I can say that. So what we have done is what we have given you the idea. Now, if you want to again go deep dive into this, we have a 9 hours webinar, which is spread across the span of 3 days. Okay, you can register there, you can join there, and you can have a very good idea of the game design, game concept art, development, everything, which is starting from 24th of January, 24, 25, and 26. So details are there with the Shastra people. They will give you the details how to register and how to go ahead in this. Where again you will have a 9 hours, whole 9 hours, where we will guide you with how the games are made. Practically, the games are made. You will see the real thing happening, real work happening. Okay, so Shastra people, just take care. If anybody is interested, they can join the event.
Sure, sir.
Actually,